It's about David. And the first it's about his victory over Goliath. And then his defeat with Bathsheba and Uriah. How could David have such singular victory over Goliath and such defeat with Bathsheba and Uriah? Have you ever thought about that? How could this be? Now, did David have a different character with Bathsheba? In other words, let me put it this way. Was the defect in David's character that was manifested at the time of Bathsheba and Uriah not in David's character at the time he dealt with Goliath? Or was that defect there, just not yet evidenced?
It was a different temptation.
If we're talking about the defect in his character. Yes, it was a different temptation. So what was the difference in the temptation? What was the difference in the situation between dealing with Goliath and dealing with Bathsheba? Would objective reality play a role here? In other words, when David sees Goliath, who was speculated to be around 11 feet tall. I think this is what a lot of the speculation is. He's around 11 feet tall, according to the measurements and so forth. So imagine you're seeing someone 11 feet tall who's proportional. What's he weigh? 800, 1,000 pounds?
2,000 pounds.
2,000, something like this. And you're David, who's probably, 5'10"? Okay, not even, maybe half as tall as this guy. When you look out there, do you think, hey, I can take this guy? Or does objective reality say, wait a second, I can't take this guy. I need help beyond me. Me alone is not going to happen. And so the objective reality of the situation drove David to look outside of himself for strength. And if you look at David's life, you see this pattern repeated over and over again when he dealt with the lion. And the bear is the shepherd. Did he immediately say, I can take a lion? Or do you think, I can't take a lion. I need help outside myself. When he's on the run from Saul's armies for most of his early years, did he think, I can take the armies? Or does he think, I need help outside myself? In other words, if you look at his life, over and over and over again, David's in a position where his own human strength is inadequate to deal with the problem. Where's he at when he falls with Bathsheba? What's his circumstance now?
He's the king.
He's king. He's in power. He's secure. He's safe. He's adored by his nation. He finally can handle it on his own now.
And he has multiple wives already.
And he can handle it on his own, right? I mean, this situation, David can handle. And I'm going to suggest to you, this is when David's defect in character really was manifest. This is the challenge. This is a lesson for us. David was in a completely different place in life. He felt safe. He felt secure. I think this is the reason why David was given the instruction by God not to take a census. Because if David takes a census and he realizes he has 100,000 spearmen, he's got 50,000 chariots, he's got 20,000 bowmen, he's got all these, he's got this big massive army, where's he likely to feel his strength is? And where do we feel our strength? In our stock portfolios, in our retirement plans, in our IRAs, and the more we stock up, the more our strength is, right? And our security. So do you think the selfishness that appeared in David's behavior when he exploited Bathsheba and then had Uriah murdered suddenly appeared in his character at that time? Or had been in his character his whole life, but circumstances had not yet really let the infection manifest? And this infection finally manifests, breaks out in the open, if you will. Have you ever had chicken pox? Okay. If you've had chicken pox, you still have a viral infection in your body. That viral infection is hidden and unseen until your immune system is compromised to the point that it breaks out and you get shingles. And now it's manifest. It can be seen. I'm suggesting this defect in character was there all along, but circumstances kept it hidden. Yes, Wendell.
Lack of opportunity is not character.
Lack of opportunity. I like that. So we often, though, look at behavior in our community, in our churches. And we see somebody in church who has stumbled with some sin. We pick up the gossip stones and start throwing. But isn't it often the case, as in the case of David, or Peter denying Christ, or Moses after striking the rock, or Elijah after running away, that this is when the secret infection that had been there all along was finally brought out in the open and eliminated and dealt with? When they finally experienced the true surrender of their inner self and were converted. So, it was after Moses struck the rock that he was taken to heaven. It was after Elijah ran away that he was taken to heaven. It was after David's sin with Bathsheba and murder of Uriah that he wrote Psalms 51. It was after Peter's denial that he was able and capable of feeding Christ's sheep. Do we allow for in our own lives the stumbles and the falls that we've had, those painful moments, to be useful in revealing an infection in our own hearts that might have been hidden by life circumstances until that moment, and then we humbly fall before the Lord like these men did to experience final healing and freeing from those fears and insecurities that have been in our heart all along? Do we allow for that? Or do we fall in the legal trap of, oh, I blew it again, what's wrong with me? And we beat ourselves up and we go down the path of working harder not to be bad.
Just a couple of thoughts. I'm still amazed in some ways we tell the story of David and Goliath to our kids, because this is a complicated story. And I think it's exciting to look at, go back and read 1 Samuel 16 and 17. He was already anointed in chapter 16, so he knows God's going to do something special with him. But, we're told there's 1,000 solutions for every problem for someone. I have a lot of confidence in being on white. And, to me it's still sad that when Goliath had some anesthesia, they just didn't tie him up, take him home, give him Bible studies, capture him. It's pretty gruesome what actually happens. And keep in mind, when the anointing happened, David wasn't even invited to the anointing.
Are you all following what he's saying here? After the stone hit Goliath in the head, he was anesthetized. He was knocked out. And rather than tying him up, he cut off his head and carried his head around. That's what David did. And he carried his head around for several days, it seems like.
So David was an angry guy, and I've heard from some folks that have respect, it sounds like David, whether he was a surprise pregnancy or it was an affair or something, he wasn't well treated by the family. Wasn't even invited when Samuel came to anoint someone to be the king. He was out watching sheep. So there's some issues going on there with some major family dysfunction, not to even have David there to see his brother anointed. So I think we need to look, and God has his ways, and he wanted to use hornets, and I think David had been better if they'd actually at least taken Goliath back and as a captive, is my proposal.
Interesting.